makes a drum part interesting? And how does it contribute to making a song interesting? Paramore's drummer Zak Farro hasn't been included on any shortlist of drumming legends that I've seen, but has he been unfairly overlooked? I recently covered Misery Business on this channel, therefore I want to break down that song in detail, and from it, we'll highlight 3 traits of Zak Farro's drumming that you and I can learn from.
If memory serves, I'm pretty sure we skipped this song because, to be really honest, we were sick of it. I'm not even gonna joke with you right now. Imagine being sick of a song that made you popular. The audacity. Cancelable, honestly. So, I ask you again. Would you like to take a trip down memory lane?
The first massive feature I find in Zak Farro's playing is this, avoiding the standard rock beat, and this is evident throughout Misery Business. Here's the verse of Misery Business without drums or vocals. Now, if this is what you have, a lesser drummer and lesser songwriters might have gone for something more like this. With this one, it's all about Zak's placement of the snare. A standard rock beat has the snare drum here on beats 2 and 4, and you hear it everywhere. It's so common, you hear it so much, it's almost hard to imagine music that isn't marked by that. When it comes to writing a song, it's all about the effect you want to have on your audience. Having a standard rock beat isn't wrong. It's a nice thing. It could be said to be the more safe and comfortable approach. That regular 2 and 4 pattern, it's danceable, it propels the song along nicely. Trouble is, a lot of music starts to see that as the only option. You have that beat throughout all of your songs, suddenly variety is lost, there's no tension anymore. It can be a sign of music that lacks innovation. This is highly subjective, of course, but this is art. It's all just choices that somebody makes to have a particular effect on the listener. Maybe only music nerds care, but ultimately, these are the technical aspects that make up the songs that you and I love or hate. What's interesting about Zak is he often finds an excuse to put the snare somewhere else, or drop it out completely. Instead of that standard pattern, he just moves the snare back 1 beat. Nothing complex, no hidden cross rhythms, no lightning fast rudiments or any other stuff drummers get overexcited about, but I think it's really smart, and it fits the music, most importantly. And this pattern continues, but Zak goes through 2 more variations of the same rhythm. It's simple, but very effective. If you're a drummer, what can you learn from this? Innovation can be very simple. The act of just moving 1 beat somewhere where it isn't expected. That could change the whole feel of your music and give a huge amount of interest for your listener. This brings me to my second feature of Zak's playing, detailed arrangements and compositions. There's massive credit to Paramore as a band for this. Their songs are tightly arranged, they often move through several moods very, very quickly. They keep things interesting, they pack a whole load into about 3 or 4 minutes of music. Last note on this, in the chorus of Misery Business, we do get this straight ahead beat, snare on the 2 and 4. And it sounds like such a release. The vocals open up and the rest of the band lets rip and it really packs a punch. But it's the contrast that really makes it bigger. We've had so long with the previous drum beat, the stop-start kind of rhythm, that when we go to the standard rock beat, it feels so much more intense. The 2 rhythms hold each other in tension. They're more powerful because they're together. And one more obvious place that Zak makes the unusual choice, in the breakdown of the last chorus. Previously, we've had this groove. It's building the intensity, there's some all-out guitar over the top, the tune's clearly building for some kind of release. Then we get back to the chorus. Here, Paramore have a drum and vocal break, but again, the standard choice would be to continue the beat from the guitar break. But Zak includes a variation of the groove instead. He takes the beat and just flips it. It's the same pattern, but those snare drum hits now fall on beats 1 and 3. It makes this passage feel a bit like it's half the speed. Again, it's a very simple but smart decision that makes the tune a more thrilling journey. Zak and the band have a real talent for tight arrangement tricks like this, and it really sets him apart as a drummer. What can drummers learn here? It's that sense of variety and simplicity that Zak injects into the music. If your band's working with a particular pattern, are there variations of your drum beats that you can play around that pattern? Do you have to play the same thing all the way through? Could you, switching the beats up here and there, make the lyrical and musical payoff more satisfying? Are you playing the same beat for extended periods of music? Is there no variety between sections? Is that a conscious choice or lack of imagination? The third massive trait that Zak features here is consistency. As a drummer who's played Misery Business myself, I can tell you it needs you to be super precise. Much more so than other bands and other styles of music. Listen to these drums. You hear how the volume of each stroke is so similar, plus the timing is rock solid. Now I know it's possible to fake these things in the studio, plus it's common practice to do several takes and use the best bits of each. Of course. But the live show tells the real story. Here are the drums from Paramore live in 2023. The audio quality isn't as pristine as something out of a studio, naturally, but the drums sound super consistent. It's real, he's got it. And we can hear the percussionist here as well. This tune has a lot of speedier passages going on too. These days, speed metal is a whole thing. And disgusting funk on the other end of the spectrum. Sure, we're not in that territory, but it's a speed that needs consistency. There are a lot of passages where the kick drum needs continued stamina from your right foot, and several parts where your hands need to move quickly for an extended period. If you're a fraction out of time, the song breaks down. And if you lose stamina, your hands and feet won't play all the notes at a consistent volume. These kicks are really coming out. And that snare is just such a loud crack. It's all so tight, and it takes a lot of dedicated practice to reach that level. What do we learn from this? As with playing standard or non-standard beats, it's subjective. Some music needs a rawness and a flexibility to it, but Paramore's music needs that consistency. Real consistency takes discipline. It's hard to master, and for that alone, Zak deserves to be celebrated. Incidentally, if you're a drummer and you're looking to master any of the techniques we talked about, or you're wanting to break through some kind of plateau in your playing, I have some one-to-one lesson slots available. Link to book is in the description, and there's also this fancy QR code right here if you happen to be on a TV. In drum world, You don't tend to hear many drummers say that Misery Business is a difficult tune to learn on the drums. But believe me, it stumps so many people learning the drums because of the speed and consistency needed. Perhaps it's fair to say this tune, and Paramore in general, do have a lower barrier to entry because it's not some crazy 5 time signatures at a time, beats all over the place, avant-garde music. It's very understandable. However, the level you need to hit in order to play the songs at Zak Farro's standard is frighteningly high. And perfecting one Paramore tune versus playing a whole set of the stuff night after night, you've got to be fit and you've got to be really aware of your own body and make sure you don't hurt yourself. Where do we land then? Whether music is interesting or not is truly subjective. However, there are technical and emotional aspects to music that trigger that interest for someone. And I think Zak is really good at making that interest happen. To me, Zak Farro's drumming is often simple, but it requires a deeper complexity of details that are actually quite hard to execute in sequence. And perhaps because that complexity is at a deeper level, rather than involving obvious showy drum pyrotechnics, Zak and Paramore often get overlooked. But as a band, it's just unbelievable how tight they are. But tell me, what do you think? How do Paramore strike you? There's so much more to mention about Paramore. How they captured the hearts of a generation. How they've always stuck to their alternative rock stance despite label pressure. How they've stuck it out through a whole bunch of personnel changes and difficult times. But at the end of the day, they make music that connects deeply with people. And what could be better than that? If you're interested to hear a modern, heavier rock band go the other way, with more obviously complex technical parts, I recently covered this tune by Haken called The Endless Knot. It's interesting to hear a band go the opposite way, but still write catchy tunes. That video is here, and I'll see you there.